This week I'm revisiting an old arcade game that I myself have never played, but remember seeing the arcade cabinet in a restaurant I used to frequent. That game was called Mad Dog McCree, and it was unlike any other arcade game of its time. Instead of having you shoot invaders from space or centipedes assaulting your lawn, here you get to use a pistol wired into the machine that you would use to shoot the bad guys. Everything on the screen was also live action, which made it feel like an interactive Western movie. Even today, with the more realistic visuals that most games provide, the live-action model is still pretty cool to see. So here's how the game works. You begin as a nameless cowboy that has come to a small western town, and are told that Mad Dog's gang has been turning things upside down. You immediately will need to shoot some of the gang members, and this game is a one-hit death model. Thank God for infinite continues, because you'll probably need them. That's because the Wiimote isn't the most accurate device to be playing this kind of game. Sure, the crosshair is more than you had in the original, if I'm not mistaken, but there's hardly any room for error. If you don't know which enemy to shoot, or even when to actually fire, you're gonna die. And you're gonna be getting really sick of seeing the Undertaker all the time. As for the shooting itself, you use the Z trigger or A button to actually fire your pistol in game. Being that these are 6 shooters, you will need to reload after the chamber is empty, or before that. To do this, you just need to move your cursor off screen and shoot. Reloading is of course instantaneous, but that split second that you move the cursor away from a possible threat could cost your life. Anyway, after you get through the first few scenes, you're given a level select. These consist of the jail, the bar, the bank, and the corral. You can attempt to complete this in any order, but you do need to finish the bar to get the key to the one jail cell before you can fully finish that stage. Also, once you finish one of these stages, you won't have to complete it again if you do need to continue, which is good, because otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gone to the end. So let's take the bar for example. You walk up to the bartender, and he warns you about Mad Dog's band of goons. They notice your presence, and will immediately start to draw their weapons. You will need to memorize which thugs to shoot and in which order, as shooting the wrong one will result in nothing but your own death. That's right, if you try to go all Rambo in here and try to shoot someone whose death isn't necessary in that exact second, nothing will happen to them. However, the saloon is a fairly simple one, because if I'm not mistaken, each of these guys are shot in a linear order that doesn't get changed around. That changes in the corral and bank areas though. The villains here pop up at random. Although there are a set amount of them and their locations are always the same, the actual order that they'll appear in will be different every time you play, so you have to rely on reflexes to get through these parts, which can make these areas incredibly frustrating. I probably spent an hour alone just trying to get through the corral. That comes to a head in one of the final sections of the game, where you're in front of a large building with about 9 different windows. And of course, each of these windows houses bandits that you want you dead. You have to be really quick in order to survive this and move on to the final showdown with Mad Dog. I will say that unless you have lightning quick reflexes, you're not going to get through this solo. That's right, the game does offer a 2-player co-op option, where you and a friend, or a random stranger, can play together and try to divide the screen to take down Mad Dog's crew together. It makes the game much, much easier this way. Sadly, I didn't get anyone over for this review footage, but might it be a future possible stream? Who knows? There's also a power-up of sorts in the game too, in the form of the cow skulls. Shoot one, and you're given an extra pistol, which allows you to basically shoot 6 extra bullets before reloading. Reload though, and it's gone. It would have been nice to keep this power-up until you die, or at least until the end of the level though. There are also some very minor puzzles that need to be solved before you get to the final boss. One makes you memorize a map, and you'll need to shoot the proper directions on the signpost to go the right way. Otherwise, you get ambushed by a bunch of the gang members. Another has you shoot a fuse to disable dynamite. And yet another one has you shoot a chimney to flush out a bunch of enemies. Although you need to be careful since there's a few innocents in there, and shooting them is the same as getting shot yourself. It's a nice little diversion to the rest of the game's constant point here and shoot mechanics. Let's say you lose all of your lives and need to continue. You're then thrust into a showdown. It's a one-on-one duel where you need to shoot the other guy before he shoots you, but only when he draws his weapon. You know how a gunslinger duel works. Here's the kicker. If you don't figure out that you need to reload before drawing your gun, you're going to be in trouble. The game forces you to do this reload, and then move the cursor onto the enemy, and then shoot. What I've learned the best strategy is to hold down the Wiimote down like it's in a holster, and then when you draw, immediately bring the weapon straight up, spamming A or Z as you go up. This will both reload your weapon off screen, but as your cursor appears, you'll immediately start firing shots. It will take some practice, but I got fairly good at it. So what is the ultimate reason why this game is so frustrating? It's the hitboxes. They feel way too small and require way too much accuracy for that Wiimote. There were times I could have sworn that I got to the enemy before he fired, but that shattering glass effect told me nope, didn't happen. Combine those hitboxes with the unforgiving reaction time that the game demands, and well, that remote may be flying through the TV if you're not careful. Finally, as I've already mentioned, the game contains live action actors, but let's face it, their deliveries can't really be considered A-grade material. Some of the voice acting is cringeworthy, as is some of the acting itself. Sometimes feels a bit overdramatic, but at the same time, it's freaking sweet to see in action. So although it's not perfect, it does lead to the charm of the game. Is Mad Dog McCree worth it? Absolutely, especially if you have a friend to play with. There are many ports of the game available, and I was borrowing this from my friend Jared to review. The Wii collection also includes a sequel and another light gun shooter, which I found much easier. The sequel is balls to the walls hard though. But as for Mad Dog McCree, it's a fun way to kill an afternoon. It's a bit short and can be downright infuriating, but when you finally down Mad Dog, you can't help but smile. Final score? 7 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.